Why everything you've been taught about strength is a lie. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom we deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French, and I am your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I want to share something with you that came from a conversation I had recently with Kandrea Jones, a remarkable leader who is making the world a better place by helping us understand that openness, vulnerability, and adaptability are not weaknesses, they are superpowers. Kandrea Jones is someone who embodies the spirit of this podcast, someone who has learned to be soft in a world that taught survival, someone who has discovered that the greatest strength lies not in rigid focus or relentless hustle, but in the willingness to be open, to be flexible, and to embrace whatever comes your way with grace and courage. And what Kandrea shared with me has the power to shift how we think about success, leadership, and the very nature of strength itself. So let me ask you something. How many of us have been taught that success requires a single minded approach? How many of us have been told that to win, we must be laser focused, unyielding, and relentless? How many of us have been conditioned to believe that vulnerability is a liability, that openness is a risk, and that flexibility is a sign of weakness? I know I have. And I know many of you listening have too, because that's what the world taught us. That's what survival mode demanded of us. But here's the thing, and this is what Kandrea Jones helped me see so clearly. What if everything we've been taught about strength is wrong? What if the very qualities we've been told to suppress, openness, adaptability, vulnerability, are actually the keys to unlocking our greatest potential? Let me tell you what I mean. We live in a culture that glorifies the grind. We celebrate the hustle. We applaud the person who works 80 hours a week, who never says no, who sacrifices their health, their relationships, their peace of mind, all in the name of success. And for so many of us, especially high achieving Black women, this has been our reality. We've been the ones holding down households, leading teams, raising families, carrying communities. We've been the ones who couldn't afford to be soft, who couldn't afford to be vulnerable, who couldn't afford to be open because survival demanded otherwise. But here's the counterintuitive truth that Kandrea Jones shared with me, and it's a truth that has the power to change everything. Being open and adaptable, embracing a mindset where you're willing to answer any question or tackle any challenge can be a true superpower in business and life. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can openness be a superpower when the world rewards those who are closed off, those who are guarded, those who protect themselves at all costs? How can vulnerability be strength when we've been taught that vulnerability is weakness? But stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you will challenge everything you thought you knew about success, leadership, and the very nature of power itself. Let me tell you about two sisters, Andrea and Robin McBride. Imagine this for a moment. Two little girls born to the same parents, raised on different continents, growing up without even knowing the other existed, one in New Zealand, one in California. Different worlds, different lives, different everything. And then as adults, they find each other. They discover their sisters. And in that moment, they could have said, this is too much. This is too complicated. This is too messy. This doesn't fit my plan. This doesn't fit my vision. This doesn't fit the life I've already built. But they didn't say that. Instead, they chose openness. They chose vulnerability. They chose to embrace the unexpected, the uncertain, the unknown. They chose to let this strange, beautiful, complicated thing into their lives. And what happened? They founded the McBride Sisters Wine Company, which is now the largest Black owned wine company in the United States. Think about that for a second. The largest in an industry that has been dominated by legacy, by tradition, by old money, by gatekeepers who didn't look like them and didn't want them there. They faced an industry with little representation for Black women, an industry with significant barriers to entry, an industry that said, you don't belong here. But they didn't let that stop them. They leveraged their diverse backgrounds, the very thing that could have divided them. And they built a brand rooted in authenticity. They focused on making wine accessible, not exclusive. They focused on mentoring other minority owned businesses, not hoarding their success. And today they have achieved national distribution, celebrity recognition, and they have become a platform for cultural relevance and industry mentorship. They have redefined what leadership looks like in the wine industry, and they have inspired a new generation of Black business leaders. But here's the thing, none of that would have been possible if they had closed themselves off. None of that would have been possible if they had said, we need to have a rigid plan. We need to have a single minded focus. We need to protect ourselves from anything that doesn't fit our vision. Instead, they embraced openness. They embraced adaptability. They embraced vulnerability. And that openness became their superpower. That openness became the foundation for everything they built. That openness became the reason they didn't just survive, they thrived. Now, let me give you another example. In Manhattan, Kansas, there's a counseling service called 365 Days, 365 Chances Counseling Services. It was founded by someone named Manha, and it's a Black owned business that provides mental health services to the local community. And here's the thing, Manha faced limited access to capital and resources to scale the business. And in a world that tells us we need to have everything figured out, that we need to have all the answers, that we need to be self sufficient and independent, that asking for help is a sign of failure, Manha could have given up. Manha could have said, I can't do this. I don't have the resources. I don't have the connections. I don't have the capital. I'm going to close the doors and walk away. But Manha didn't do that. Instead, Manha chose openness. Manha chose to seek out microgrants, to enter pitch competitions, to ask for help, to be vulnerable about the challenges the business was facing, to say out loud, I need support, I need community, I need collaboration. And what happened? Manha secured a $1,500 microgrant, won a $5,000 pitch competition, and used that money to upgrade technology, hire staff, and invest in critical training. And today, 365 days, 365 chances counseling services has improved service delivery, has enhanced community impact, and has strengthened mental health infrastructure for underserved populations. And it has set an example for other Black owned service providers. It has shown them that asking for help is not weakness. It has shown them that collaboration is not failure. It has shown them that openness is not vulnerability in the negative sense, it's vulnerability in the most powerful sense. It's the willingness to say, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to find them. I don't have all the resources, but I'm willing to seek them. I don't have all the connections, but I'm willing to build them. But again, none of that would have been possible without openness. None of that would have been possible without the willingness to be vulnerable, to ask for help, to embrace collaboration and community. And that openness, that vulnerability, that adaptability, that became the superpower. That became the reason Manha didn't just keep the doors open, but expanded the impact, deepened the service, and transformed lives. Now, let me give you one more example, and this one is going to blow your mind. Kendall Ray Johnson, the youngest certified farmer in the United States, Kendall founded a grow culture and educational farm and business in Georgia. And here's the thing, Kendall started gardening at age 3. 3 years old. Most of us at age 3 were still learning how to tie our shoes, how to share our toys, how to say please and thank you. But Kendall, inspired by a great grandmother, embraced openness, embraced curiosity, embraced the willingness to learn and grow and adapt. And by age 6, Kendall had launched a thriving farm and educational business. 6 years old. Think about that for a second. 6. And today, Grow Culture has partnerships with Prairie View A&M University, has programs reaching hundreds of students, and has broadened representation in agriculture, inspired youth entrepreneurship, and fostered community education. But here's the key. Kendall didn't have a rigid plan. Kendall didn't have a single-minded focus. Kendall didn't close off from the world and say, I'm going to do this one thing and nothing else. Instead, Kendall embraced openness, embraced family support, embraced community engagement, embraced strategic partnerships. Kendall said yes to opportunities that came up, yes to collaborations that didn't fit the original plan, yes to learning from elders, yes to teaching the next generation, yes to adapting and growing and evolving. And that openness became the foundation for everything that followed. That openness became the reason Kendall didn't just plant a garden, but built a movement. So, what do all of these stories have in common? What is the thread that connects Andrea and Robin McBride, Manha, and Kendall Ray Johnson? It's this. They all understood that openness is strength. They all understood that vulnerability is power. They all understood that adaptability is not a weakness, it's a superpower. And they all understood that the willingness to embrace whatever comes your way, to answer any question, to tackle any challenge, to be flexible and open and vulnerable, that is what unlocks the greatest opportunities and connections. That is what transforms survival into thriving. That is what turns struggle into success. That is what makes the impossible possible. Now, let me bring this back to you because I know many of you listening right now are tired. You're tired of the grind. You're tired of the hustle. You're tired of being strong all the time. You're tired of wearing the cape of being the superwoman, of holding everything together while you're falling apart inside, and you're ready for something different. You're ready to shift from constantly grinding to finally grounding in joy, peace, softness, and self prioritization. And that's what this podcast is all about. That's what the soft girl era is all about. It's about unlearning survival and rediscovering softness. It's about reclaiming the joy, rest, and freedom you deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. And here's what Kandrea Jones helped me see. The key to that shift, the key to that transformation is openness. It's the willingness to let go of the rigid plans, the single minded focus, the relentless hustle, and to embrace whatever comes your way with grace and courage. It's the willingness to be vulnerable, to ask for help, to collaborate, to build community, to say yes to something new, even when it's scary, even when it's uncertain, even when it doesn't fit the plan. Because here's the truth, your journey is your advantage. The unique twists and challenges you faced are not setbacks, they're the foundation of your resilience and creativity as a leader. And when you embrace openness, when you embrace vulnerability, when you embrace adaptability, you unlock a power that no amount of hustle or grind or relentless focus can ever give you. You unlock the power to connect, to collaborate, to create, to inspire, to transform not just your own life, but the lives of everyone around you. And that's what community and collaboration are all about. Building meaningful connections and supporting others, especially within underrepresented communities, amplifies impact and creates lasting change. And that's what Andrea and Robin McBride did. That's what Manha did. That's what Kendall Ray Johnson did. And that's what you can do too. That's what you're already doing, whether you realize it or not. Every time you choose to be vulnerable, Every time you ask for help, every time you collaborate instead of competing, every time you say yes to something that scares you, you're choosing openness. You're choosing strength. You're choosing power. So here's my challenge to you. What would happen if you approached your next challenge or opportunity with complete openness, letting go of expectations and embracing whatever comes your way? What would happen if you stop trying to control every outcome, stop trying to have all the answers, stop trying to be perfect, and instead just showed up fully present, fully open, fully you? What would happen if you let go of the cape, dropped the mask, released the need to be strong all the time, and allowed yourself to be soft, to be vulnerable, to be human? This week, I challenge you to say yes to something new and see where your openness can take you. Say yes to the conversation you've been avoiding. Say yes to the opportunity that scares you. Say yes to the vulnerability that makes you uncomfortable. Say yes to the collaboration that requires you to let go of control. Say yes to the softness that the world has told you is weakness. Say yes to rest without explanation. Say yes to boundaries without apology. Say yes to joy without guilt. Say yes to yourself fully, completely, unapologetically. Because that openness, that vulnerability, that softness, that is your superpower. That is your strength. That is your path to the joy, rest, and freedom you deserve. That is how you unlearn survival and rediscover softness. That is how you reclaim your life. That is how you step into your soft girl era. Not because you're giving up, not because you're weak, not because you're failing, but because you're finally choosing yourself. You're finally choosing peace. You're finally choosing wholeness. You're finally choosing to be soft in a world that taught you survival. And when you make that choice, when you embrace that openness, when you step into that vulnerability, you don't just change your own life. You change the lives of everyone around you. You inspire your daughters, your sisters, your friends, your colleagues. You create a ripple effect that extends far beyond what you can see or measure. You become a living example of what's possible when we stop trying to be everything to everyone and start being everything to ourselves. When we stop hustling for worthiness and start resting in our inherent value. When we stop performing strength and start embodying softness. So go ahead, take off the cape, drop the mask, release the need to have it all together, and step into your power, your real power, the power that comes from openness, from vulnerability, from adaptability, from softness, the power that comes from being fully, authentically, unapologetically you, because that's the power that changes everything. That's the power that transforms lives. That's the power that makes the world a better place. And that's the power that you already have right now in this moment if you're willing to embrace it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for choosing yourself. Thank you for choosing softness. Thank you for choosing openness. And thank you, Kandrea Jones, for reminding us that being open and adaptable is not a weakness, it's a superpower. Now go out there and show the world what happens when strong women choose to be soft. Show them what happens when survival mode transforms into thriving mode. Show them what happens when the cape comes off and the real you steps forward. Show them your soft girl era because the world is waiting and you are exactly who we need.